Good afternoon and a warm welcome. You're watching Education News Network, and today I'm here to interview an eminent personality from the education fraternity, Mr. Preetham Kumar Agarwal. Welcome to our show, sir. Glad to have you here today.
Same here, thank you.
Mr. Preetham is the founder of Hello Kids Group of Preschools. With an interesting journey spanning over 15 years, he runs 695 preschools pan-India that have seen about 2 lakh students pass out. So we're very interested to know about your journey. Could you tell us what inspired you to get into this industry?
Nitya, it was the year 2005 and I landed in Bangalore and I wanted to be into a business. I come from a business family and always had a plan that I'll be starting up a school. And when I was, the time came that I have to do something, and I thought I'm a son of a rich family, and definitely parents will give me money to start a school. But after my education of MBA, I thought why not to start the schooling process from the base level. And the early childhood education was the point where I thought that this is the base level to start the education in terms of a business. And I started a preschool, the first preschool in Bangalore in 2005. I took a small building of 1,200 square feet and I started this journey. And it was amazing because this is what I thought, that once you will learn the business from the base, you can go much more higher. And this is what I think it has happened with me, that I have that experiences of running it, starting a preschool, to run the preschool and really have all that experiences which is required to run the preschool right now.
That's great, sir. So, sir, could you tell us a little about the beginning of your journey and tell us about the curriculum of Hello Kids and how it's different from the rest?
Yes, in the initial days, I visited a lot of preschools in Bangalore, in Delhi, and as I was in UK just before the preschool I started up. I went to see a lot of preschools and what they are giving, how they are giving, and what is this preschool all about. I really found a lot of things when I wanted to change that part in terms of Hello Kids. The first one was that how nicely at a low cost you'll be able to make a school, and the idea was that there were preschools in India. There were some 4 or 5 good brands also in India at that point of time, but the affordability of that preschool to the middle segment, I think that was not justified with the services or the parents. And in 2005, I'll say that acceptance to preschool education was not that high also. It was only the haves who were able to send their kids to the preschools. And we try to develop a school which is really, in terms of the fees, in terms of the facilities, it can be for a good middle class families. But in terms of education, we always wanted to be at par with all the leading best of the preschools. So we developed a curriculum where we have incorporated what I say is in terms of Montessori or in terms of multiple intelligence, or I'll say that more of practicality which we try to bring it, which is we call it as a experiential learning for the kids in the early years, because the child was too young. So it is a place where they come for play and learn, right? So they should be able to spend that quality time inside the school when they are away from the parents for that 2-3 hours. When they come inside a school, they should feel very comfortable. And within that play atmosphere, we say that within a budget, if you will be able to give that facility to the parents and the best of education to the child, we'll be able to go much beyond in the industry, and that has worked for us. And people have accepted us not only in Bangalore but other parts of India too. So that initial journey, and with my experiences, what I say is I had experiences of managing the school, taking the classes, cleaning the school premises, driving the school van for the full day, right? So I have that experiences to share, and definitely with the time, I think I'll be able to share that experiences too.
We look forward to that, sir.
Thank you.
So, sir, you just spoke about the affordability factor, which is really important. So, yours is the first preschool that follows a low royalty model. What was the idea behind that?
So, the idea was that for a parent, it should be a good educational place where the fees is affordable. And as far as child is concerned, the school education should be the best in the industry. And the third thing we saw it as a business is that whenever somebody is taking up a franchise, he also should be satisfied that they are already into a what you call as a developed model, but they are following your steps. This is how franchising works, right? Franchising means it is royalty itself. But when you want to go very long with these people also, because education is not a fashionable product or it's not a some restaurant or this thing that you will be keep on charging like because of the brand who charge royalty for a brand usage. So we knew that signing up a franchise will be very easy in the initial days, right? But retaining them for a long period of time, it will not be that easy for educational institutes, right? So we thought to bring in no royalty model so that the franchisee will be able to sustain, they'll be able to do a business, and obviously the brand will carry. Definitely there will be a different models of revenues to the brand, but we were able to see that in a long process, this is justified to the services which we provided to them. We do their setups, we do their trainings, we give them the study material, we train their teachers, we train the business owners, we give them the systematic approach to that education, what is required, the logistics part. So we have tried to bring out that without this royalty, how we'll be able to give them that support so that they will be with us for a long period of time. So we were the first to introduce no royalty. No royalty concept, I'll just explain it to you, Nitya, because when we talk about royalty, the franchisor charge a portion of the fees to the franchisor from the schools. They do charge for it.
Yeah.
And we say that for every child we are not paying for it. Because my support to our franchisees, it will be the same across India, right? But somebody is doing very good in South and somebody is not doing very good in North. It doesn't mean that I'm charging him a very high amount and I'm not charging him anything. So we said that our support to every branches will be the same. Let it be South or North, East or West. We'll charge a fixed amount to these franchises, and in turn we'll be giving that continuous support to them. That is how we have developed this, and this is the reason of our growth, that people have accepted the part of no royalty in the industry.
That's great. So, sir, at the beginning of your journey, what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, Nitya, it was very. The first challenge was for me was I started school when I was almost 24, and I was unmarried and I was running a school. So parents visiting me to the school itself was not ready to send their kids because I do not have experience of that parental experiences.
That was the conception.
So that was the first conception. Second was initial schools. Yes, I say that the first 3-4 months for my first center it was very difficult because admissions coming in, inquiries were happening, but admissions were not happening. Maybe I was seeing that I do not have that experiences. But with the time that has gone out, and people have accepted us because of two reasons: quality of education at a good price, and the success started when we roll out the second branches, because that is the parents' requirement in some areas where we went there and we thought there is a requirement of a preschool, and we gave the same quality which we have given in the first schools, and people accepted us. And in 2007-8 we thought of deciding to go on to a franchise model. There is a time when I got married to Sunita and Sunita started taking the operations part. So I was there to take out the marketing part of it. So the challenges was when we were going to the rural part of India, because when we say a middle segment, we were thinking to go to cities B, C and the rural part. The acceptance of preschool was not there because this was a non-compulsory education. It was thanks to the government of India that in the last June 2020, when they gave the new NEP, they have made it preschool as a compulsory education, right?
Yes.
But prior to 2020, it was very difficult. That there was no what you call as compulsory education. So in rural parts of India, parents will say that the mother is housewife, so she is there to take care, no education required. So the challenges was only the acceptance to the industry itself.
So how did you manage to convince these parents?
So you have to go to them when you have to bring them to your schools. You have to explain them that in the first 6 years of the child, right, the 80% of the brain gets developed, and they again will not understand these lines, right? You have to tell them that at 2 years they will be able to do this, at at 3 years they'll be able to do this. This play is important. A play which is a guided play is important. This is the time when they should write or not write. This is the time when they should socialize with the other kids. What is the importance of that preschool 2 hours or 3 hours of time? How they will be learning socializing or food habits or learning the basic, right? So whenever we build a building also we talk about foundation. So we say them that how this early education is important to build their careers. So I'll tell you about a small incident also. When I was about to start the preschool, I went on internet and I tried to search what is the importance of preschool. And if you see and go to Google and search for it and find out images, you will see 90% of the images will talk about those who have not attended preschool. Either they are school dropouts, or they will have criminal records, or they will not have higher education, or they are not into good jobs. But this was not Indian researchers. This was the research done by the Western countries where they felt that how important is this early childhood education is. So if we speak to the parents, slowly parents have started accepted it. And in rural part of India, who has accepted is if they have seen their family friends staying in Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, if they are sending that small young ones to the preschool, by seeing that references, they started sending it. So in rural, it was little difficult initially, but yes, with the time it has happened. And again, as I said, as a business model, the challenging was the rules of. There was no rules as such, right? Even there is no rules as such to start a school, so anybody can start this school, preschool, and anybody have this thing. So there were some issues in terms of that, but it's quite an interesting journey to share. But we are in the same industry, and I'll say that definitely will continue for the future too.
So could you take us through some of your franchisee experiences?
Yeah, it was a long journey now, almost like 7-8 years in terms of franchising. And I do remember the initial days when that point of time, 2007, 8, 9, I do not think that we were very used to on social media. We were not on Facebook, we were not on Google, right? On that, how we are doing it today. So, but there were people, those who were contacting us from different parts of India, and there was no Zoom calls, right? There was no Skype. People wanted us to come and visit that locations. People wanted to come and meet us at their locations. Traveling distances, meeting people, right? It was what the industry was doing it. But with the no royalty concept, what we brought into this industry was that everything you can definitely share with images with us will definitely, because we want the person who is opening the school should have first confidence that yes, I'll be able to do this school in my location. 80% are women entrepreneurs. Anyway, they were not able to visit to us, right? They wanted us to go there. But we took that confidence that if you have that confidence initially, that you will be able to do that preschools. If you are keen on that child, if you have that interest on that child and that part of education, you will be able to do a good school in your area. So we have not traveled to all these locations, and as because my model also do not talks about royalty. So we thought that we want you to visit to our any nearest centers. Go to any of our nearest centers, go meet them, or come to us. We'll explain you, we'll guide you how to do and when to do this. So that challenges we started, took it as a explaining or training to the local, the people those who are looking for franchisees. I remember my first franchisee where I visited to Bareilly, and it was take it as a joke, but yes, I was newly married and I spoke to Sunita that let's go and see. Bareilly is very close to Taj Mahal, so if we are not signing it, also at least we are going to visit Taj Mahal on that part. So that was a different story, but I have not signed up that franchises because if you are going to the locations, yes, there are a lot of research required. But I want that person who is starting up the preschool should have the first confidence that I'll be able to do this in this particular place. So, franchisees, what I have believed is you need to have your real connect with your franchisees. So, definitely I tried my best. I have traveled to the first 300 locations myself. Right, once the school was set up, I have visited them personally. I have done my business training with them. I have met them. I wanted to know that what is their challenges. I have trained them personally, and with that 300 travels to these 300 locations, it has made me more stronger in terms of understanding the market, either it is north or south, east or west. So that franchise journey initially was very difficult because you get an inquiry from northeast, you are traveling for a one-day job, but even that flights were not that great. For a one-day job, you are taking a small train or a flight to a nearest location. Even going for a one meeting, you are spending around a week's time. It was like that in the initial days, but that is not there right now. So it is all into in terms of a Skype or a Zoom call. People are able to share their videos, their locations on Google. So that is has changed the time. With the time, it has changed already. So there are good experiences to share, but I don't think the time will permit me to share a lot on this part.
So, sir, Hello Kids has about over 5,000 teachers across India. So, how do you keep them updated, and are there any teacher training programs that you implement?
Nitya, for us, for this industry, the truth is that the attrition rate of teachers are very high, and we need to be very updated on a daily basis. So we have a program of teachers training which we do 3 times in a year. 3 times means we are repeating the same training 3 times in a year, and we do have these 3 quarters which we say for the training part. We do have this training because there are attrition rate in the schools, because the preschools there are different reasons to the same part, and we do have a strong trainers from the country, those who have a language specific or what you call as topic specific, the class specific, or when we talk about handling the child with that psychology, which is very very important. So our trainers has to be so strong that they have really should have worked on their spaces. It is not only a theoretical which a teacher will come and explain it and they will just leave for the training days. The trainer has to be so strong that he himself should have the classroom experiences with the young children. Then only that education, that stories or rhymes or that practicality or that maths or English should go back to that small young child. Because with child you cannot talk about theories, you have to talk about practicality, that experiences. If it there are training sessions happening sitting in a classroom or seeing some what you call as PowerPoint presentation, the training should not be in that process. The training is where we are really experiencing the toys what we are going to use it, really using that same books and textbook and the materials what you use. The trainer has to guide you. So what before this pandemic, we had these trainings throughout the country, and we had some 25 training spots across India, because our teachers we used to travel around say 100 to 100 kilometers to do that training also, because we were not able to go to all that 600 centers, but we had some 25 training points which was mostly either it was a state capital or it was the closest airport, or it is a point where we have maximum number of centers. So these teachers used to travel and they used to do the practicality of trainings. And proudly I will be able to say this, that we were able to understand the issues what we were facing with the teachers training. And in 2019 mid itself we have started using the online teachers training concept itself. Because of attrition rate, because we want to deliver again and again, we very let's say that we want to repeat it and we want to reach to the new centers, or we are doing something the teacher has changed, which has helped during our COVID times.
So it's more than the transition for you.
I'll say that over 60-70% of our teachers were already adapted to the online training part. So it was very easy transforming them towards the beginning of the COVID-19 period, which was March, April, May, June, and they have adapted it. Only thing which we were going through the implementing is the online session with the child, which was again, the preschool teachers are so quick learners because they are working with children, right? So they have adapted with the time and they have understood it. So in terms of this thing, what we believe is, because of the truthness of the industry's attrition, you have to train them on a very regular basis. So that is what we have kept it. And the ground is, they have to understand the child, what is his requirement. So we have been able to deliver that thing, including all our center owners. They have to go through the training process, right? I'll not say 100%, but 80, 85, 90% of the school owners also have been trained on the subject part.
So it's great that you prioritize teacher training. That's a very crucial aspect.
And proudly I'm able to see that because we have adapted with the very this thing post pre-COVID, it was very helpful for us during this time also.
So with the entire COVID crisis happening, how did you deal with the demands of your franchisees, with schools being shut and everything?
Yes, very important now, and almost 13 months by now. I do remember 18th is when head office of HelloKids got closed on, and from 19th itself, as I told you earlier also that we were all connected online for a training sessions. 19th itself, we all were live.
19 March.
19 March. 18th we closed on. 19th we were live with all the teachers. And it was just a normal meetup. It was not a discussion on COVID. It was not on training, nothing. We were just trying to bring all the teachers online. And that took almost a week or 2 weeks of time. And during that discussions, we were just discussing how the schools across the globe are handling this situation. So it is not only the head office, it is not the only leaders or the owners of the schools. Even the teachers were able to share what is happening in Europe, what is happening in Maharashtra, what is happening in Delhi. They were able to relate it. So we got enough time to bring them on board. We got enough time to understand the world, and it was very smooth transition from that learning phase of that 2 weeks to the start of our academic year from, let's say, April itself. And I'll tell you, it was not an academic start because that was the time when we were not expecting that it will continue. And we understood the first requirement after doing all this discussion was we wanted the child to get engaged with the school. We wanted the child should get engaged with the teachers. We wanted the child should get engaged with the friends. So that was the first target. Because the child was alone at home, he was inside the four walls, we wanted the first, everybody asked for the same thing. Curriculum is not possible, writing is not possible, this is not possible, right, in the initial days. But the only one topic was how we can keep the child engaged. So during that process, we started with this. We have got enough ideas from our own teachers. Even the curriculum planners were on almost like a heavy duty on the initial days and how to bring that sessions to online. And lot of life skills, lot of family time, lot of physical activities which was required because the child was inside. So we've been able to do that. And as because we were connected to all the teachers and we were able to take their feedback, we were open to ideas from the world, I think we have done it with very reasonable time. We've been able to do the sessions also. Sessions were not at all prioritized till the time we were in June, July. But yes, from June, July, we had to deliver because the growth was already there with the child. The physical growth was already there. And with that basic of curriculum, where the child, we need to prepare that child for the next level also, we've been able to slowly started giving that education from that June, July onwards.
So what are your future plans in early education?
See, Nitya is already 15 years in this industry. I've got, this is almost like, I spent a good time. I've learned from that a school teacher to a driver now to a school owners, right? I'm able to see this. And after this NEP 2020, I've got more energy to work more and more for HelloKids and for this industry. So I think we do have a very future, we wanted to reach 1,000 numbers of schools by the next December. And we'll see how we'll be able to reach to 5,000 schools in near futures.
Great, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of the show today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and all wishes to ENN channel and to the team of education today.
Thank you.
So inspiring that you people are able to give that scope that we are able to speak and where we were able to connect to the other parts of the education fraternity. Thank you so much and best wishes.
Thank you, sir. And with this, we come to the end of this interesting conversation with Mr. Preetham Kumar Agarwal. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did. while having this conversation. For more such videos, do log on to our website, theENN.com, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. For now, signing off, Nitya.